I was out on patrol in Pisgah National Forest one late afternoon when the wind kicked up, whispering names that froze me cold. Clara Juon, like voices from a grave. I'm Anselmo, a 44-year-old ranger in North Carolina, and those weren't just random sounds. They were the names of 5 travelers who vanished here in 1987. My heart slammed as I grabbed my compass, hoping it'd point me toward the source. But the needle spun wild, mocking me as the breeze brushed past again, this time hissing my name, Anselmo. I've been at this job for years, mapping every trail in this sprawling wilderness, knowing the pines and peaks like my own skin. Storms, lost hikers, wild animals. I've handled it all, but this was different. Those disappearances from '87 had hooked me deep, a mystery I couldn't let go, even as the forest started feeling less like home and more like a trap. The sun was dipping fast, painting the sky with streaks of orange behind the towering trees, but the air stayed cool, too cool for late fall. I could feel the woods breathing, alive with something I couldn't pin down. The oaks and firs loomed overhead, their gnarled roots snaking through the dirt like they were holding secrets tight. Those whispers weren't new. I'd heard them before, faint and fleeting, brushing them off as wind tricks, but lately they'd gotten louder, sharper, calling out Clara, Joe, and others from that lost group. Then there was Nathan, my old friend, gone in a different way, tangled in a mess of betrayal that still stung. The forest was stirring it all up, mixing my past with theirs. I pushed deeper, the air growing thick with damp earth and rotting leaves, heavy enough to choke on. The wind wasn't just rustling now, it was pulling me, tugging at my coat like invisible hands. My boots sank into the soft ground, each step feeling like the forest was shifting under me, alive and watching. The compass was useless, its needle jerking in circles, so I stuffed it back in my pocket, relying on instinct instead. The whispers kept coming, insistent, like they wanted me to follow, wanted me to dig into whatever dark corner they came from. I couldn't shake the feeling I was walking into something I wouldn't come back from. Sunlight faded through the canopy, dappling the trail with weak patches of gold, but it didn't warm me. The trees pressed in, their branches creaking like old bones, and I felt small, too small, under their weight. Pisgah wasn't just a forest anymore. It was a living thing, and I was caught in its grip. The names hit harder, Clara, Joan, Nathan, each one a jab to the chest, dragging up memories I'd buried deep. Nathan's laugh, Clara's voice from that foggy night in '87, Joan's face from the old case files, they swirled in my head, blending with the wind, and I wondered if I was losing it, or if the forest was winning. I kept moving, the trail, twisting ahead, the rustling turning into a call I couldn't ignore. My flashlight flicked on as the last light died, its beam shaky in my grip. The woods were alive, and I was in too deep, chasing ghosts I wasn't sure I wanted to find. Guilt gnawed at me, Nathan's fallout, my failure to save him from his own demons, now echoing in these trees. The disappearances weren't just a job anymore. They were personal, a puzzle tying my past to this place. The forest knew it, and it was pulling me in step by heavy step. The air thickened, the scent of decay sharp in my nose, and I felt it, the ground trembling, subtle, but real, like Pisgah was waking up. Shadows stretched longer than they should have, and I caught my breath, realizing I wasn't just chasing answers. I was being hunted. My flashlight danced over the trunks, catching flickers of movement, shapes I couldn't name. The wind whispered. Again, my name, louder this time. Anselmo. A cold finger down my spine. I stopped, heart pounding, knowing something was close, too close. Night fell hard, and the forest shifted, shadows swallowing the light, whispers turning into a roar. I'd gone deeper than ever, and then she appeared, a woman stepping from the dark, her silhouette sharp against the moon. My light hit her, and I called out, "Who's there?" "I didn't mean to scare you," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos. "I'm Mia. I've been following the whispers, too." Her eyes were wide, fear and grit mixed tight, and I felt it, a thread tying us, strangers, bound by this haunted place. I steadied my flashlight on her, my voice tighter than I wanted. "What do you mean following the whispers?" Mia stood, there, coat frayed, her posture tense like she'd been running from something, or toward it. The wind howled, carrying those names again, Clara Juon, and I felt my pulse spike. "I lost my brother Lucas here a year ago," she said, her eyes darting to the shadows behind her. "He heard them too, the voices. They pulled him in, and I think they want something from us." Her words trembled, but her jaw was set, like she'd fight the whole forest to get him back. "Lucas," I muttered, the name hitting me like a stone. Another lost soul on Pisgah's list. I'd seen his file, another case I couldn't crack. "You shouldn't be out here alone," I said, but part of me was hooked, drawn to her story like it was tied to mine. "I know the risks," she shot back, stepping closer, her voice firm despite the shake in it. "But I can't sit around waiting. I have to find him, bring him home." Her eyes locked on mine, fierce and desperate, and I saw myself in her, a mirror of my own obsession. The forest pulsed around us, the air crackling like a storm about to break. "I've been chasing this too," I admitted, my throat dry. "Those names, Clara, Juon, they're from '87. 5 went missing, never found. It's eating at me." Mia nodded, and I felt it. We were in this together now. We started walking side by side, the woods shifting with us, shadows bending in ways that didn't make sense. The whispers grew louder, a mix of names, Lucas, Nathan, hitting us both, and I saw Mia flinch, her face twisting with pain I knew too well. "There are stories," she said, breaking the tense quiet, her voice low like she didn't want the trees to hear. "Locals say Pisgah's alive, takes people who dig too deep. It's hungry, Anselmo." Her words sank in heavy, and I couldn't laugh them off, not anymore. "I've spent years protecting this place," I said, my voice rough with doubt. "Thought I knew it, but now it's like it's turning on me." The wind swirled, cold and sharp, and the names echoed again, Clara, Juon, Lucas, a chorus pulling us deeper. Mia's eyes flickered with fear, but she held steady. "What if we're not supposed to find them?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "What if it wants us to?" The question hung there, cold and real, and I felt my stomach drop, doubt creeping in. "We can't think like that," I said, shoving the fear down, my tone sharper than I meant. "We keep going, figure this out. There's something here, Mia, something we've got to face." I met her gaze, and she nodded, a spark of resolve cutting through her panic. The trail twisted, the trees pressing in, their branches scraping my arms like they wanted to hold me back. The air got heavier, thick with a weight I couldn't name, and I knew we were close to whatever was driving this, calling us in. A shadow darted between the pines, quick and dark, and I swung my light. "Did you see that?" I asked, heart racing. Mia nodded, her breath fast. "We're not alone," she said, her voice tight but steady. "It's showing us something, leading us." The whispers merged into a single voice, loud and clear, Lucas, Clara, Juon, ringing in my ears, and I felt it pull, a tug I couldn't fight. We pushed on, the forest alive around us, its energy buzzing, daring us to uncover its secrets, or fall trying. Pisgah wasn't passive anymore. It was a hunter, and we were prey, drawn deep into its heart. With Mia beside me, our shared grief a fragile shield, I braced myself for what was coming, knowing it'd test us in ways I couldn't yet imagine. We kept moving, the forest closing in as the wind howled, carrying those names, Clara, Juon, Lucas, like a chant meant to break us. My flashlight flickered, its beam weak against the dark, and Mia stayed close, her steps quick but shaky. Pisgah felt alive, its pulse thrumming under my boots. A scream ripped through the night, sharp, desperate, human, and I froze, my blood turning to ice. That was Lucas, Mia gasped, her face pale, eyes wide with terror. She grabbed my arm, nails digging in, and I felt her panic jolt through me like a shock. No, I whispered, shaking my head, trying to push it away. It can't be. But deep down, I knew that sound. It echoed a scream from years ago, Clara's voice lost in these woods. Guilt surged, a wave I couldn't outrun, dragging me back to that night I'd failed her. Anselmo? Mia's voice cut through, sharp with worry. You okay? Her grip tightened, pulling me back, and I blinked, the forest snapping into focus. Yeah, just Clara, I muttered, my throat tight. She disappeared here too. I couldn't save her. Her eyes softened, but a rustle nearby broke the moment. A figure staggering out, wild-haired, eyes frantic. I know what you're after, he shouted, voice raw, hand shaking. My breath caught. I knew him, the guy with Clara that day, lost to time till now. You were with her, I snapped, stepping forward, anger flaring over the fear. What happened? Memories hit hard. Clara's laugh, her scream, his face fading into the dark. I tried to save her, he rasped. The forest took her, takes everyone. It's your pain it wants. Panic clawed at me, but Mia stepped in, hurt, voice steady. We're here for Lucas. Help us or get out. The man flinched, then nodded, slow, like he'd seen too much. You've got to face it, he said. It feeds on your regrets. Trap it, or it traps you. Face it, I echoed, the words sinking in, heavy and cold. I'd run from Clara's loss, Nathan's too, but now they were here, staring me down. The forest wasn't just a mystery, it was my past, alive and hunting, and I couldn't dodge it anymore. We're in this together, Mia said, her eyes fierce despite the shake in her hands. We can't stop now. I nodded, resolve kicking. This wasn't just about Lucas or Clara. It was all of us, tangled in Pisgah's grip, fighting to break free. The whispers roared, a chorus of lost voices. Nathan, Lucas, João, swirling around us, and the trees swayed like they were laughing. It's coming, the man yelled, bolting back into the shadows, swallowed fast by the dark, leaving us alone again. My heart raced as I met Mia's gaze. What now? I asked, voice rough, doubt gnawing at me. She squared her shoulders, fierce. We keep going. Find Lucas. Face this thing. Her words steadied me, a lifeline in the chaos, and I nodded, ready or not. The ground vibrated, a low hum I felt in my bones, and the air thickened, pressing down like a weight. We pushed deeper, the trail twisting, shadows darting, just out. Of reach but close enough to feel their breath, their hunger. Pisgah pulsed, alive and angry, its energy buzzing through me, daring us to step closer. The man's warning echoed, face it or be trapped. And I knew he was right. This wasn't just a rescue, it was a reckoning, and I wasn't sure what we'd find at the end. With Mia and the ghosts of my past at my side, I plunged into the dark, the whispers a guide and a taunt. The forest was awake, and we were walking straight into its jaws, chasing answers, or maybe our own end. The woods tightened around us as we pushed on, the darkness a thick curtain pierced only by my shaky flashlight beam. Mia stayed close, her breath fast and ragged, and the haggard man's words rang in my ears. It feeds on your regrets. The wind howled, carrying Clara's name, João's too, a relentless pull dragging us deeper. A scream cut through. Closer, raw, and my gut twisted. Lucas, Mia choked, her voice breaking as she lunged forward. I grabbed her arm, holding her back, my own heart pounding. Wait, we don't know what's out there. But I heard it too, a cry too real to ignore. It's him, she insisted, eyes wide, pulling against me. We're so close. Her desperation hit me hard, mirroring my own for Clara, Nathan, every name haunting these trees. I let go, nodding, and we moved fast, the forest roaring like it knew we were coming. The air grew heavy, thick with damp rot, and my boots sank into the soft earth. Each step a fight. Shadows danced ahead, too quick to catch, and I felt them. Eyes, not human, watching from the dark, waiting for us to slip, to break. Anselmo! Mia's voice snapped me back, sharp with fear, and I saw it, a flicker of movement, a shape in the trees. My light swung, catching nothing but branches, but the whispers surged. Lucas, Clara, Nathan, louder, angrier, like they were pissed. We wouldn't give up. The man burst out again, wild-eyed, staggering toward us. "You shouldn't be here," he yelled, voice cracking. "It knows you, knows what you did." His words hit like a punch, dragging up Nathan's betrayal, Clara's scream, every failure I'd buried. "Shut up!" I barked, anger flaring over the panic. "I didn't choose this. I'm here to fix it." But doubt gnawed at me. His face a ghost from that night with Clara, a reminder I'd failed before, failed them all. Mia stepped in, fierce. "We're here for Lucas. Help or get lost." The man flinched, then sagged, nodding slow. "Face it," he rasped. "Your guilt. It's what it wants. Trap it, or it traps you." His eyes darted like he saw something we didn't. "Face it," I repeated, the truth sinking in, cold and heavy. Nathan's ghost, Clara's loss. I'd run from them, but Pisgah wouldn't let me. It was feeding on me, on Mia, on every regret. We carried, and we had to fight back. "We're together," Mia said, her hand brushing mine, steady despite the fear in her eyes. "We can't stop now." I nodded, resolve kicking in. This wasn't just about finding Lucas, it was breaking free, all of us, from this damn forest's grip. The ground shook, a low rumble I felt in my chest, and the whispers turned into a roar, Joan, Lucas, Clara, swirling around us like a storm. "It's coming," the man shouted, bolting again, vanishing into the dark, leaving us to face it alone. "What now?" I asked, voice rough, my light trembling. Mia squared up, fierce. "We keep going. Find Lucas. Face this thing." Her words steadied me, and I gripped her, hand a lifeline in the chaos, knowing we were in too deep to turn back. The trail twisted, trees bending like they were alive, and the air buzzed, thick with something dark. Shadows darted, close now. Their whispers, a taunt, daring us to step into the heart, daring us to break or be broken. Pisgah was awake, its hunger pulsing through the earth, and I felt it. We were prey, hunted by our own pasts. With Mia beside me, I pushed on, the man's warning a drumbeat in my head. Face it, or be trapped, and I wasn't sure which we'd get. We hit a clearing, the dark pulsing like a heartbeat, and my flashlight barely cut through the thick shadows, swirling around us. Mia gripped my arm, her breath fast, and the whispers roared. Clara, Joan, Lucas, loud enough to rattle my skull, pulling us in. A figure formed in the center, shadowy and faint, and my chest tightened as Clara's faced. Took shape, sorrowful, accusing, her eyes boring into me. "Anselmo," she whispered, her voice a knife twisting in my gut. "You left me. You let me down." "No," I shouted, stepping forward, desperation clawing at my throat. "I tried to save you. I swear I did." My voice broke. Guilt. Flooding back, Clara's scream that night, my hands too slow, too weak to pull her from the dark. Mia grabbed my hand, her grip fierce. "It's not real. It's your guilt." Her voice cut through, steady and sharp. "Face it, Anselmo. Let it go." Her eyes locked on mine, fierce with belief, and I felt her strength anchor me. I took a shaky breath, meeting Clara's gaze. "I'm sorry," I choked out, tears burning. "I can't change it. I failed you. But I'm done running. I let you go." My chest heaved, the words ripping free, and Clara flickered, her form fraying like smoke. The whispers surged, I see a chorus of pain. Nathan, Lucas, swirling around us, and I felt it lift, a weight peeling off my shoulders. The shadows shrank, the forest growling low, and I stumbled back, gasping, lighter but scarred deep inside. Mia turned to the man who stood shaky at the edge. "Lucas, where is he?" she demanded, her voice cracking. He pointed deeper, eyes wide. "He's got his own fight, but you can save him if you go now." His voice trembled, heavy with truth. I nodded, resolve kicking in. "Let's move," I said, rough, the forest still buzzing around us. Clara's echo faded, but the scars stayed. Guilt I'd carry, but not let rule me. We had to find Lucas, break this hold. The clearing flickered, shadows retreating, but I felt it. Pisgah wasn't done just pulling back. "It's not over," I muttered, my voice low. Mia's eyes met mine, fierce. "No, but we're stronger now." Her hand brushed mine, a quiet promise. The man sagged, worn thin. "You've faced it, trapped some of it. But it's still hungry," he warned, his voice a rasp, and I knew he was right. The forest was alive, waiting for its next shot. We pushed deeper, the trail twisting, the air thick with tension. The whispers softened, but I heard them, Lucas, Nathan, faint now, guiding or taunting. I couldn't tell. My light shook, catching nothing but trees, yet I felt watched. Mia's pace quickened, her breath sharp. "He's close, I know it," she said, fierce. And I nodded, feeling it too, a pull, a thread tying us to the heart of this mess, where answers or ruin waited. The forest pulsed, its energy dark and heavy, and I braced myself. We'd faced Clara, pushed her back, but Lucas was next, and Pisgah wasn't giving up easy. With Mia and the man's words driving me, I kept going into the unknown. The clearing faded behind us, the dawn creeping in, but I felt no relief, only the weight of what was ahead. Pisgah was a hunter, and we were still prey, chasing a fight. We might not win, but damn if we wouldn't try. We broke from the clearing as dawn's gray light seeped through the pines, the forest's roar fading to a low hum. Mia stayed close, her eyes darting, and the man trailed behind, his steps heavy. My chest ached, Clara's face still burning in my mind, a scar I'd carry forever. "Are we free?" Mia whispered, her voice thin, like she feared the trees might hear. I didn't answer. Couldn't. The weight of Clara's echo lingered, Nathan's too, and I wondered if freedom was even possible in a place like this. The man glanced back, his wild eyes softer now. "You've faced it, cut some ties," he said, voice rough. "But it's not done. You decide what's next." His words hit deep, a truth I felt but couldn't grasp, heavy with years of running. The pendant from my pocket, Clara's old charm, felt cold, a faint glow pulsing in my hand. "What's this mean?" I muttered, holding it up. "It's hers." "Why's it here?" My voice shook, questions piling up like storm clouds. Mia leaned in, her breath catching. "The forest keeps them." "Pieces of the lost," she said low. "Maybe it's a way in or out." Her eyes flickered with hope and fear, and I felt it too, a thread tying us to Pisgah's heart. The station loomed ahead, a dim light cutting the dark, and I pushed the door open, letting Mia and the man inside. "We've got to figure this out," I said, rough, setting the pendant down, its glow staring back like an eye. Mia dropped into a chair, rubbing her face. "Lucas, he's still out there. We can't stop now." Her voice was fierce, tired, and I nodded. The forest wasn't done, and neither were we, not while he was lost in its grip. The man sagged against the wall, his voice faint. "It's alive, always will be. You've pushed it back, but it's waiting." His eyes met mine, hollow but knowing, and I felt the truth settle in. Pisgah wasn't beaten, just biding its time. I paced, the pendant heavy in my thoughts. This thing, it's tied to Clara, to them all. We use it, find Lucas. End this. My voice steadied, resolve kicking in, a fire I hadn't felt till now, burning through the doubt. Mia grabbed her pack, fierce again. "We go back, hit the heart, together. It's not taking him, not if I can help it." Her eyes burned, and I saw my own fight mirrored there, a shared need to break this curse. The forest hummed outside, a low buzz I felt in my teeth, a warning it wasn't sleeping. "We need more gear info," I said, rough, grabbing my coat. "Next time, we're ready. No half-assing it." The man nodded, slow. "You've got a shot, but it'll cost you, always does." His voice was a rasp, and I knew he was right. The forest took, and we'd paid already, but we weren't done giving yet. The station felt flimsy. The dawn light weak against Pisga's pulse. I gripped the pendant, its cold sinking into me, and felt it pull. Back to the dark, back to the fight. With Mia and the man, I'd face it. No running, no hiding. The woods stretched out, alive and waiting, and I knew it'd come back, harder, hungrier. We'd faced Clara, pushed her shadow. Down, but Lucas was next, and Pisgah wasn't letting go easy. Together, we'd fight, whatever it took. The station was silent as the gray light grew, but I stayed by the window, pendant in hand, watching Pisgah breathe outside. Mia slept on the cot, her pack beside her, and the man leaned against the wall, his eyes half shut. I couldn't rest. The forest's hum kept me wired. The quiet was a lie. I felt it. A coiled snake ready to strike. The pendant sat heavy, Clara's charm a cold link to what we'd faced, and I rubbed my chest, the ache sharp now, a scar from letting her go, from facing Nathan's ghost too. "Did we stop it?" I muttered, my voice rough in the stillness, half hoping it'd answer itself. The forest didn't reply, just hummed low, a taunt I couldn't shake. Pisgah was out there, waiting, and I wasn't sure we'd won anything yet. Mia stirred, sitting up, her hair a mess, but eyes sharp. "No sleep?" she asked, smirking faint. I shrugged, throat tight. "Too much up here." I tapped my head, and she nodded, getting it, her own ghosts keeping her restless too. She grabbed her notes, flipping pages fast. "The pendant. It's a key, Anselmo. To Lucas, the heart. Maybe more." Her voice was steady, fingers tracing cramped lines, and I felt it. A thread in the mess, something to pull on. I held it up, its cold biting my skin. "Clara's, how's it here?" My voice shook, questions piling up. "The forest keeps pieces," she said low. "Her, Lucas, Nathan, it's not over till we break it." Her words sank in, heavy and true. "We go back," I said, firm, resolve kicking in like a switch. "Find Lucas, end this." I stood, pacing, needing to move, to fight the weight pressing down. Mia nodded fierce. "Together, no stopping till he's safe." The forest buzzed, a low hum vibrating the floor, and I grabbed my gear, rough. "Need more, stories, maps, whatever it takes." My voice steadied, the plan forming, a fire burning through the doubt, ready for the next round. Mia stood slinging, her pack over. "We'll dig. It's not taking us, not Lucas." Her voice was steel, and I nodded, grit locking in. The man watched, silent now, his warning a quiet echo. "Cost you. Always does." The pendant pulsed, faint but there, pulling me back to the dark, the heart, the fight. "We've got a shot," I said, low, meeting Mia's eyes. She smirked, tired but fierce, and I knew we were in, all the way. The station felt flimsy, the dawn weak against Pisgah's pulse. "Let's get ready," I said, firm, the weight settling but not breaking me. Mia nodded, and we moved, gearing up, the man's shadow lingering, a reminder of the cost. The trees swayed outside, slow and steady, watching, plotting. Campinos? No. Pisgah was alive, waiting, and I knew it had hit soon, harder, meaner. We'd faced Clara, pushed her back, but Lucas was next, and it wasn't done with us. With Mia beside me, her fire matching mine, I wasn't running, not from Nathan, Clara, or this damn forest. The pendant sat cold, a link to the past, and I'd use it, face it, head on, end it, whatever it took. The forest hummed, a promise of what's coming, and I felt it. We'd stirred something big, something that'd roar back. If you like this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more creepy tales. Tell me in the comments what you think happens next, or if you've ever heard whispers you couldn't explain. Share it with your friends. Let's see if they'd brave Pisgah with us. That foggy morning hit me like a whisper I couldn't shake. What's hiding in this mist? I stood there, Viter, a lone ranger in Germany's Teutoburg forest, surrounded by towering pines drowning in haze. My breath puffed out, swirling into the fog like smoke, and for a split second I saw them. 5 travelers laughing as they set up camp, their voices bouncing off the trees until screams tore through, and the mist swallowed them whole. I'm 39, not just a guy who keeps these. Woods in line, I'm chasing ghosts from the past. Used to dig through history as an archaeologist, pulled in by this forest's old whispers, but now I'm hooked on a mystery that won't let go. The 5 who vanished in '87 gone without a trace. For months I've been seeing flashes of that day in the fog. And every time I stumble on bone circles, perfect, creepy rings on the ground that mess with my head. The fog's been getting thicker lately, alive almost, wrapping around me like it's got a pulse. Today it coiled, tight, snake-like, and I tripped over another circle. Human bones, some chewed up with teeth marks, laid out like some sick ritual. My heart kicked into overdrive. This wasn't random. The forest was hiding something big, and it wasn't gonna spill easy. My brain spun, digging up stories I'd heard in Bad Salzaflen, village whispers about a hungry thing under the trees, something old that feeds on fear. Those bones weren't just leftovers, they were altars, calling up a darkness that's still here, lurking. The fog twisted around me, and I swear I felt it. That pull, primal, dragging me toward the truth about those travelers. Every day it's gotten worse. This obsession's eating me alive. Those glimpses in the mist feel like a lure, daring me to crack the case, but it's a tightrope over a pit. This forest used to be my safe place. Now it's a maze of terror, and I'm the mouse. I've got to face what went down in '87, but as the sun sank, a cold thought hit. What if this thing wants me in its game? The air got heavy, buzzing with something waiting to snap, and the dark crept in like spilled ink. Standing there, bonesy, at my feet my pulse raced. The forest was alive, watching me. Night dropped fast, and that's when it all went sideways. Something weird, something I couldn't explain. The fog thickened up, wrapping me tight like a blanket I couldn't shake off. The usual forest noises, birds, wind, faded out, leaving this crushing quiet that sat on my chest. Shadows flicked between the trees, and the air sparked, electric. I'd gone too deep this time, and the woods knew it. I could feel its heartbeat picking up. Then, a rustle, sharp, snapped me around. My breath caught, stuck in my throat. Lena stepped out, my old ranger pal, eyes glinting with fear and grit, under the moon's glow. "Veter, been looking everywhere," she said, voice tight. "You shouldn't be out here solo. It's not safe." Relief hit quick, but the edge in the air drowned it fast. "Lena, I found bones. Think they're tied to those travelers," I said, pointing at the circle. "We've got to figure this out." She cut me off, sharp. "No, you don't get it. You're in danger. The legends aren't just talk. You've gotta believe me." Her words stung. She's the steady one, always cool-headed. But there was something raw in her voice, a truth that shook me. "Then help me," I pushed, desperate. "If we crack this, we could stop it, keep it from happening again." I needed her with me, bad. Lena's face softened, just for a second. "You're not just digging up a mystery, you're waking something up. I've heard the tales, disappearances, madness. We need to bail." Her warning hit hard, but the fog tugged at me, pulling me to stay, to face it. I shook my head. "Can't. I've got to know, Lena. I can't let this place hide it." Right then, a figure staggered out of the mist. Tom, that hiker gone missing 2 weeks back, clothes ripped, eyes wild. "Help me," he choked, dropping at our feet. "It's in the fog. It's watching." My heart slammed. "What happened?" I demanded, kneeling by him. But Tom just shook, staring past us into the haze, breathing fast. "It took them, the others. I saw him screaming," he rasped. "Wanted me to join, barely got out." Lena's eyes flicked between us, panic rising. "We've got to get him out," she said, voice spiking. But I froze. Tom showing up wasn't random. It proved something dark was real. "We can't run now," I said, firm. "If we don't stop this, it'll keep going." Tom grabbed my arm, nails digging in. "You don't know what's out there. It's a curse. You'll lose yourself." His words sank deep, and the air buzzed like a storm about to break. I felt my sanity slipping, wanting answers, scared of them, a tug of war tearing me up. That growl came again, low and mean, rattling through the trees. My spine iced over, and Lena grabbed me tight. "Stay close!" I barked, but my voice shook. I didn't even trust it. The fog twisted, playing games with my eyes, turning trees into claws reaching out. Shadows jerked around us fast and tricky, and old memories hit. Me and Dad lost in these woods, as a kid, laughing till it went dark. That night, the shadows whispered my name, Dad's panic loud screams I couldn't place. Thought it was a bad dream, but now, maybe the forest let me go back then. Peter, snap out of it. Lena's shout yanked me back. She was scared, I could hear it. I spun to Tom. He'd gone still, eyes blank, like he'd checked out. "Tom," I called, but he just pointed into the fog, slow, creepy. "I see them," he whispered, voice flat. "Waiting." "What are you seeing?" Lena snapped, sharp, but that growl roared louder, shaking everything. The fog spun wild, showing faces, twisted, hurting, and my breath stopped. Those travelers, stuck, screaming in the mist, wanting out or worse. "Tom, wake up," I yelled, grabbing him, but he stared through me. "They want you, Veter, calling you." "You're theirs," he said, calm now, eerie. I stumbled back. Did I belong here? That pull I'd always felt? Was it this? Doubt chewed me up fast. Lena's hand clamped my arm. "Don't listen. He's gone. You can't let it win." The shadows coiled around Tom, claiming him, and the whispers cranked up, loud, pulling at me. Old joys, old pains, all tangled in this place. The fog roared back, pissed, shadows lunging like they'd swallow us. "I won't be yours," I shouted, fists tight, fighting that tide pulling me under. Lena stepped up, fierce. "Together, we break it." Her grip was a lifeline, steady in the mess. I yelled again, loud, pulling up every good thing, Dad's laugh, friends, light, and light shot out from us bright, slashing the dark. The spirits wailed, hopeful now, breaking loose as the shadows screeched, clawing to hang on. It worked, but it hurt. The forest hit back hard, a blast knocking me flat. Light faded, silence slammed down, and I gasped, wrecked. Lena knelt by, me touching bruises the dark left behind. "You did it," she said, eyes wet, but scared still. Tom blinked, coming around, but something was off. Shadows lingered in his stare. He wasn't all there, and my gut sank. The forest went quiet, trees still, but the ground twitched. Alive, not done. "This ain't over," I rasped to Lena. A rumble rolled in, far off, cold creeping with it. Shadows flickered at the edges, and I knew we'd freed some, but the forest's heart still beat, dark and old. "Look," Lena pointed. A glowing orb pulsed in a tree's hollow, calling us. We froze. Tom muttered, "We've got to go back, more to find." His voice was thin but sharp. Lena pulled me back from the orb. "Could be a trap," she said, and I nodded, unsure. The path ahead glowed faint, daring us deeper. Every step sank heavier, the forest humming secrets I hadn't cracked. Tom lagged, half lost, and I felt it. This wasn't the end. It was a start. We'd pushed back, but the real fight was waiting, and I was stuck carrying it. That orb kept glowing, pulling like a hook in my gut, whispering power, truth. Tom shuffled toward it, eyes weird, intense. "It's calling," he said, low, heavy. Lena gripped me, tense, watching him. The dark wasn't gone. It was shifting. Shadows curled up again, slow, wrapping us, and those old pains flashed. Losses, regrets, control I'd craved. The orb lit Tom's face, changing him. "We can use this," he said, ambition sparking. "Be bigger." I balked. Power like that cost too much. Tom reached out, shadows hugging him tight, and a grin split his face, dark, wrong. "I'll lead 'em," he said, eyes burning, "or we'll run this." My stomach dropped. He wasn't my friend anymore. He'd turned, swallowed by the forest's curse. The woods sighed, a new cycle kicking off, and I felt it, the dark sinking into them. Me too, tempting, heavy. Tom was gone. A new player in this game. and I was left holding the bag. A legacy I hadn't asked for, staring me down. Hey, if you liked this creepy ride, smash that like button and subscribe for more. Share it with your buddies. Let 'em. Get spooked too. Drop a comment. Favorite scare? Want more forest horrors? Tell me. I've got shadows to spare. Dawn broke over the rugged peaks of the Shoshone National Forest, and a question lingered in the crisp air. What if the past never truly lets go? I'm Reuben Matthews, a 36-year-old forest ranger, and this is my tale, Scary Horror Stories, Park Ranger Edition. I stood at the exact spot where, back in 1987, 5 travelers vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but whispers. The trees around the old campsite now stood in a perfect circle, as if they'd grown that way on purpose, guarding some dark secret. My heart quickened, not just from the cold mountain breeze, but from a chill that felt deeper, older. I've been drawn here for years, not only as a ranger, but as an amateur photographer, capturing Wyoming's haunting wild beauty. The story of those lost travelers has stuck with me since I was a kid, fueled by hushed tales of a tattered tent, abandoned in the woods, and laughter that once filled the air, now replaced by a heavy silence. As I crouched to jot down notes on the strange tree arrangement, a faint sound like wind chimes drifted from a nearby cave. It caught me off guard, sparking curiosity that drowned out the unease creeping up my spine. I edged toward the cave's dark mouth, that tinkling laughter growing louder, pulling me in like a siren's call. But the moment I stepped inside, silence slammed down like a shroud, the air turning stale and thick with the weight of forgotten memories. Then, just as I started doubting my own head, the laughter came back, ringing inside my skull, a mix of innocent glee and something darker, twisted. The forest felt alive around me, its shadows shifting with every heartbeat. I've always loved these woods, but that day they were different, almost like they knew I was there watching me back. The towering pines stood like ancient sentinels, their gnarled branches whispering secrets I wasn't sure I wanted to hear. Ida, come here for peace, a break from the bustle of Jackson just a few miles away, but instead, I was tangled in a mystery tugging at my mind. As the sun climbed higher, I wrestled with a wild idea. What if the trees moved at night, reshaping the land, and maybe even time? It felt like those lost travelers' spirits were playing a game, their laughter a lure, and I was the sucker, caught in it. Night draped the Shoshone like a heavy blanket, and the world flipped. Shadows stretched long, trees twisting into freaky shapes under the moon's pale glow. I lingered at the cave's edge, my heart hammering, as that laughter turned into a haunting hum, digging deep into my soul, urging me further into the dark. A rustle snapped me out of it. Nora, a fellow ranger, tough and sharp, stood there, her worried face cutting through my daze like a lifeline. "Reuben saw your truck," she said, voice low and tight. "You shouldn't be out here alone at night." Her warning hit me cold, sharper than the breeze. "I'm okay," I replied, though my shaky tone betrayed me. "Just checking the, old site. But it's alive tonight, Nora. The trees feel different." I waved at the creeping dark, fumbling to explain what I couldn't quite grasp. She frowned, her unease mirroring mine. "You need to go," she said, stepping closer, eyes narrowing. "This place has dark stories. Those travelers' ghosts linger, luring folks in. You might not come back." I'd heard her tales before, dismissed them as campfire spook stuff, but now they hit different. "What if they're trying to tell us something?" I pushed back. "What if there's a reason we're here?" Conflict churned inside me, my hunger for closure about my sister clashing with this growing dread. Nora softened just a bit. "Lost my brother years back. He loved these woods too. I get needing answers. But we've got to be smart. This ain't what it looks like." The woods weren't my sanctuary anymore. They were a maze of fear and possibility. A gust roared through the cave, snuffing our lights, and the laughter blasted, bouncing off the walls, ringing through the trees like a warning. We locked eyes, fear tying us tight. "Let's get out," she urged, but as we turned, the path shifted, trees closing in, branches like claws. Then that kid's voice hit. "Help us!" Sweet and piercing, stopping me cold, caught between running and diving into the truth that help us. Stuck with me, and doubt crept in. Was it real, or my mind messing with me? My sister's giggles used to light up these woods. Now they felt warped, dark. "Reuben, please!" Nora's voice sharpened, laced with panic, as she grabbed my arm, her grip shaky but firm. "Do you ever wonder if she's out there?" I croaked, desperation spilling out. "Trapped like them? What if we're supposed to find her?" Nora's face softened, showing her own scars. "Thought I lost my brother to this place, but it was his demons. I faced that to move on. Sometimes it's inside us, Reuben, not out here." The cave's mouth loomed darker, wind howling through it. That kid's voice sang again, "Help us!" pulling me like a promise I'd made long ago. The ground growled, a deep rumble shaking us, the laughter turning to wails that echoed. My deepest fears, was this ghosts or my own guilt? "Reuben!" Nora's shout sliced through the chaos. "Move!" Then she stepped out. A kid, maybe 7, with my sister's wide, begging eyes. "Help me find my sister," she said, soft but firm, yanking me back to old pain. Nora gasped. She saw it too, a ghost from my past. The ground shook hard, trees clawing closer, like skeletal hands locking us in. "Reuben, it's not real," Nora choked, but the kid reached out, pulling me toward her, into memories I'd buried deep. I was split, caught between her pull and Nora's panic, reality twisting around me. This wasn't just about my sister anymore. It was me facing the dark I'd shoved down. The forest was alive, zeroing in on me, blending past, present, and tomorrow into one messed up truth. "We'll find it," I told Nora, voice steadying despite the chaos. Together, we stepped deeper, the dark swallowing us whole, chasing ghosts and answers we didn't even know yet. We pushed into the thick black, each step wobbly, the kid flickering ahead like a magnet pulling me in. Nora's grit kept me grounded, her presence a lifeline as doubt chewed at me. "Reuben!" she barked, sharp through the swirling noise. "Stay with it, it's a trick." "You promised," the kid cried, hitting me with guilt. I'd sworn to protect my sister way back. Her voice echoed, sweet and bitter now. Nora stumbled, roots lashing like snakes, her grip on me tightening. "It's your memories," she yelled, yanking me. Back from the kid's pull. "Stay with me," the kid begged, desperate. My sister's loss flooded me, a wave I couldn't duck. "Reuben," Nora cut in, fierce. "You're chasing shadows. Don't lose us." Her words stung, pinning me between then and now. The kid's eyes darkened, voice twisting. "Let me in, you can save her." The forest answered, shadows curling like vines around us. My heart pounded. I was teetering on a choice, the dark seeping in, ready to claim me if I slipped. "Choose!" Nora screamed. "Phantom or us?" It clicked. I wasn't saving my sister. I was digging up myself. "Enough!" I roared, voice bouncing off the chaos. "I'm done being played." I turned to Nora, locking in. "Together! We fight this!" The kid wailed, flickering wild. "The chai!" Forest shook like I'd ticked it off. We weren't just pawns now. We were pushing back, stepping deeper into whatever horror waited, Nora's nod sealing our pact as the air buzzed with defiance. The forest hit back hard. As we pushed in, shadows swarmed, the kids' cries twisting. Into a mess of screams. It was us against it now, a full-on fight. "You heard it!" Nora yelled over the shaking ground. Trees dropped branches like they were bleeding, stung by our nerve. Dark ropes grabbed at us, but we kept moving. Nora shouting, "Together, each step a jab at the gloom." The kid warped, her sweet face turning ugly, raging. "You can't run!" she screeched. 1,000 voices in one, the forest bucked wild. A light blasted ahead, blinding, slowing everything. My past slammed into me, love and loss tangled tight. We hit the dirt, gasping, Nora beside me, pale but fierce. The light faded, leaving us bruised inside and out, the quiet too heavy to trust. "Did we win?" she asked, voice wobbly. "Don't know," I said, chest tight. The kid's eyes stuck with me, past still lurking. Nora pointed. "Look!" A path glowed with weird flowers cutting through the dark, hinting at more. We stepped onto it cautious. The forest wasn't done, still watching, whispering secrets we hadn't cracked. Eyes glinted in the brush. I felt it. The kids. Promise hanging there, mixing salvation with threat. The silence was loaded, full of what-ifs. We'd started something big, and it wasn't over. We kept going, the glow pulling us into the next round, the forest braced for whatever came next. The path lit up, flowers glowing freaky and bright, but it felt off, like a trap dressed up pretty. The kids' laugh echoed soft, a ghost that wouldn't quit. I felt it sink in. This forest's curse wasn't leaving me. It's part of who I am now. I'd hoped for a fix, a way out of this haunt, but with each step the truth hit harder. There's no cure for what's awake in me. Nora glanced over, worried. "You okay, Reuben?" Her voice cut through my fog. I was heavy, slipping. "It's part of me now," I said, chest aching. "No escaping it. I'm tied here, one of its lost souls, bound tight." Shadows pulsed. Agreeing, cold hit me, knowing we'd won nothing but a bigger load. The forest wasn't just fighting us, it was us now, living in me, a weight I can't ditch. We moved on, flowers pointing to who knows what. The air buzzed, dread and promise, mixing thick.
If you like this tale, hit like and subscribe for more. Share with friends, drag them into the woods with us. Comment your favorite bit or what ending you'd want next. Let's keep this going.